Over the years, I have taught hundreds of people physics, and this has given me...
It's thousands!
You know, I think he's right, really. Anyways, all this experience has given me plenty of opportunity to reflect on 3 things I wish I'd known when I was studying physics. Welcome along, physics fans. I often remember a comedy sketch I saw once. One guy says to his friend, "You know, physics is great. It's all about exploring the furthest reaches of the galaxy, the tiniest little part in atoms. It's all about making time machines or anti-gravity machines or blowing things up and basically just having lots of fun in the lab." To which his rather low energy mate says, "No, it's not. It's melting ice in a bucket." And you know what? I think his mate's got a point. When I started my post-16 physics, after a few weeks I had a genuinely shocking discovery. Some of it is just plain boring. For me, it was materials that did it. Hanging masses onto pieces of copper wire in order to work out Young's modulus. I mean, let's face it. To be frank, I felt cheated. This wasn't what I expected. Just be aware, it's not all whiz-bang excitement. Some of it is plain boring. You will be melting ice in a bucket. And this brings me to my second point. Some years back, I used to be an apprentice for a local photographer, and part of my development for him was to submit a portfolio of 10 of my finest pictures to a committee who would assess me for membership of a professional photography organisation. I failed this assessment, and the main reason was that I had worked on this portfolio as if I was stuck on a desert island. Looking back, and I find this hard to believe, I didn't even ask the guy I was working for his advice. Talk about stupid. I learned a lot about humility that day, but also something else too. Make sure you have connections to different people that you can discuss and go over work with. Particularly if you can find someone who's further along the struggle path than you are, then you will have found a fantastically useful asset. And I would suggest you need to have assets in addition to your wonderful, wonderful teachers at school. So ask, ask, ask. My third point builds on the first two. I like to ask my students, do you understand Newton's second law? "Oh yes," they reply, feeling embarrassed that I would ask them and perhaps a little bit annoyed. But as I leave the pregnant pause so you can see the look of sheepishness growing on their faces, I'm waiting for them to develop their response, and they are feeling this little knot of insecurity growing inside them. Don't think that you can fully grasp all these concepts in physics in a matter of hours. 1 or 2 lessons on Newton's laws and you've got them down. Of course that's not true. These took years to develop. Saying you understand Newton's second law because you can chuck a few numbers into a formula and get the right answer out at the end of it is a bit like saying that you understand dogs because you've got Auntie Mavis living halfway around the world who told you about when she looked after her friend's pet Rottweiler for a couple of hours whilst he went off to pick up his prescription and survived to tell the tale. Ludicrous, isn't it? It takes time and effort living with an animal to learn about its power and beauty. And the same is true of physics. You have to live with it. You have to work with it. You have to wrestle it. You have to bring it under control. You have to develop your respect for it. It's almost like I want to say you have to learn to feel things like Newton's second law. I know that sounds a bit out there, but really, that's how I feel about it. I've been at this game for years, you can tell, can't you? And I still find my understanding and respect for even what you might think of as simple things like Ohm's law developing and growing. You know, everyone likes to make their own mistakes in physics, and I'm no different. One of the great skills in life is trying to bypass this testing time for you and learn from other people's mistakes. Maybe let me know what you think down below.